This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, everybody. You know what would help? How about I turn on my camera? What's up? It's Dan Zare. Welcome to another Coffee with Kenobi Live, CWK Live. I'm your host, Dan Zare. Thrilled to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. Minta, this is the way. It's CWK Day. Hello, Minta. Great to see you. Hello, Mary. Happy Monday and 4th of July Eve for everyone in the U.S. Yes, happy 4th of July to all of our friends in the States. Brian, this is the Monday you're a teacher? Part-time. Yes, you notice I put that at the beginning of last week's Coffee with Kenobi. It's great to see all of you. Hey, Terry. What's up, man? Great to see you back. We saved a spot for you, of course. We've got a fun show. I'm sort of interesting because my camera, it's got these different angles, and it just will randomly do different angles, so now I can see what you see of what I did with my studio. So it's kind of funny. Interesting. I'm going to point my camera up a second so you can see that Indiana Jones statue behind me. Right? That thing is so accurate of Harrison Ford. It's really cool. All right. Back to me. Here we go. Let's talk about what's on the show tonight. Tonight we have got top 5 moments from Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I've got some new indie merch to show you and to talk about, plus your comments and questions. So let's take a look at what is brewing in the world of Star Wars this week. This week obviously was, last weekend was the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Jeez, boy, I am off. Indiana Jones and a Dial of Destiny, but so there were a lot of releases of new figures from the Adventure series, which is the Black Series version. Ben is back. What's up, dude? He says, I'm in the Central Time Zone this time. Hey, man, it's great to see you. Great to have you back on the show. So here are some of the new releases from Hasbro. They did an Indiana Jones live stream. You've got L.C. Snyder, the Grail Knight, and the Crystal Skull version. Gosh, the Last Crusade version. I swear I know the difference between the 5 films of Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. You've got Indy with his tie. That's kind of the biggest difference there. The hat should look a little bit different. I wonder if they did that on here. So that is a look at all of them. But they also have, the doctor from Dial of Destiny, who is, of course, you may recognize as the father of Jyn Erso in Rogue One. So it's cool to see him back in the Lucasfilm property, and this is a great likeness of him. Mita says he chose poorly. That is correct. You are right about that. Speaking of The Last Crusade, here's Dr. L.C. Snyder. She comes with the Grail itself. She's got that cool helmet, and she's got the goggles that go on and off. There's a lot of... basically, all of her outfits are in this figure. You can mix and match them, but a really great likeness of Allison Doody, the actor who plays Dr. L.C. Snyder. These are some of the things that you can assemble, just like in the Raiders of the Lost Ark Adventure series figures. You can assemble the Ark of the Covenant, and here you can assemble some of the scenery of the different Grails from the end of the film Last Crusade. Mita says he's also well known as Hannibal from the Hannibal TV series. That's right. He's just really good at playing. It's cool to see him in Rogue One now that I think about it, because it's one of the few times he plays a good guy. Tyler is here. What's up, dude? Great to see you. Here is a likeness of Henry Jones Sr., played by the legendary Sean Connery. Look at this figure. When I looked at this figure, I sent it over to Corey Club and our friend Jeff McGee, and we were all just completely stunned by the realistic sculpting and likeness of Sean Connery. It's a tremendous, absolutely tremendous figure. And the hat comes on and off, which is really great. So I'm a big fan of this one. The briefcase, the umbrella, really tremendous. Tyler, I know you're a huge fan of 6-inch Hasbro figures, and I'm assuming you were going to order this one as well. Mita says, Sean Connery is a legend. Absolutely. Speaking of legends, there's the man himself. Now, this figure looks a lot like the Raiders version, but I would be great to see the sculpt up close to see if this looks like basically the Raiders figure, but with a tie. But I don't know. There's something that looks a little different about it. I think maybe the jacket's a little aged, or I'm not really entirely sure, but he's got that submachine gun, and just cool, right? And if they ever make a Crystal Skull Indiana Jones figure too, I think it'd be cool to have all of them, to have them just kind of line them up to show the Harrison Ford aging. Tyler says, can't wait for this wave. This whole line is my favorite toy line of the year. Well, that is cool, and you are a massive toy connoisseur. And this is, of course, the character played by Antonio Banderas in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So it was nice to see that figure. I would have liked to see more of that character in the movie. Speaking of, I know you all want to talk about Dial of Destiny. I do too. I can tell you that, let's see. I can tell you that the night that I saw the film, which is the 29th of June, Corey and Tom and I recorded a really long review of that film. So I've saved it. It's going to come out this Thursday. It's going to very much show you my thoughts on it. So I'm trying to keep it kind of under the, close to the fedora. And my apologies for not saying more about it in the cafe, our CWK Facebook group, which again continues to be, even without me being biased, it continues to be one of my favorite places to talk Star Wars because it's family friendly. It's spoiler free, and it's just a positive, fun place. We don't love everything or like everything, but we're just very open to talking about it and having an actual conversation. So if you're not a member of the CWK Cafe, it's our Facebook group. Just go into Coffee with Kenobi's Facebook page or go to coffeewithkenobi.com/community. You can type CWK Cafe in your Facebook feeds, and you should be able to find it. But we would love to have you there. A lot of fun. All right, so let's go ahead and transition. Anyway, we will be talking about Dial of Destiny for sure. Mary wants to know, did you see the video of Harrison and Phoebe playing with their toys? You know, I haven't yet. I know it's out there. It's been sort of it was so funny because I muted so much Indiana Jones stuff on social media because I was afraid something would be spoiled. And then I forgot to unmute it. So there's some things I didn't get a chance to look at yet, but I will be sure to hunt that down. I'm pretty sure that you posted that in the cafe if I'm correct. So again, tonight we're going to do top 5 moments from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I had a great time talking about it with Corey Clubb and Jeff McGee last week on Coffee with Kenobi. Really diving deeply into it. And I'm still a huge fan of this movie. For sure, I shared very much my thoughts on that last week on Coffee with Kenobi. We're going to talk about your top 5 highlights here, and then next week we'll get to Dial of Destiny. So, Crystal Skull number 5 for me is the warehouse. The warehouse sequence at the beginning is a blast. It's really fun. It's an extended sequence. And the way Indiana Jones is able to trick the Russians into getting rid of their gunpowder and sneak around. And of course, there's a nice little Easter egg moment with the Ark of the Covenant. Just marvelous. I love everything about that warehouse sequence. I think it's one of the better sequences in any of the Indiana Jones films. Terry says he didn't get a chance to rewatch Crystal Skull, so he's going to see what everybody else's favorites are. No problem, my friend. And when you do, feel free to post your thoughts in the cafe. Love to see them. Minta's 5, the small Easter egg of the Ark, towards the beginning of the movie. It's a nice nod to the movie that started it all. I agree with you. I love it. It's pretty cool. Brian's 5, the reveal of Indy at the beginning via the shadow of the car. What a great, iconic little shot. Steven Spielberg really routinely nails that fedora silhouette. I love that so much. Mary's 5, the Ark peeking out in the Area 51 warehouse. We've all, 3 of the 4 of us have mentioned that so far in our number 5. How fun. Tyler's 5 is a diner. Really like the faux toughness of Mutt leading up to the rumble between the Greasers and the Socs. Yep, that is a nice reference to S.E. Hinton's book, The Outsiders. Did you know, by the way, that S.E. Hinton, do you know what S.E. stands for? It stands for Susan Elizabeth Hinton. But she was encouraged to put S.E. Hinton because publishers, I believe at the time, didn't think that audiences would believe that a female author could write about male gangs. Now, obviously, that was incredibly wrong. No surprise there. But yeah, S.E. Hinton stands for Susan Elizabeth Hinton. There's your Outsiders trivia for the day. Thank you so much. All right. Where are we here? Ben, I haven't seen, she hasn't seen in ages, so mine are from 15 Years of Memories. The opening scene with the shadow of Indy. It's great. Iconic. So good. So good. All right, let's look at number 4. Number 4, The Marion Surprise. It's about halfway through the film, I think. And all of a sudden it's revealed that Marion Ravenwood is in this movie, and she's a prisoner. And Harrison is so overcome with emotion. I keep using Harrison and Indy as synonyms. Sorry. I don't mean to do that. I just, you know how it is. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But Indy is so overcome with emotion, and the acting by Harrison is so good, and he's tongue-tied, and he's excited and giddy and just thrown for a loop, and it's classic them. It's fantastic. I just love that scene, love that sequence, love that surprise moment when Marion and Indy are first reunited on screen. Terrific. My area is motorcycle chase to Indy telling the students to get out of the library. That's awesome. That is an awesome moment. Ben, no problem, buddy. I understand. Minta's number 4, Mutt and Indy riding the bike through the university ground and the library. It's a great moment. I love the music in that as well. Brian's for the MacGyver-esque methods to finding the crate in the warehouse. That's a good way to describe it. Which is ironic because I'm sure that Indiana Jones inspired MacGyver to a degree too. So that's pretty fun. By the way, this hat is from Shop Disney. I bought it back in Celebration Anaheim. It is when it's supposed to be a replica of when Steven Spielberg was wearing the Raiders of the Lost Ark hat when he was filming the movie, but they took the basic design and they put the Indiana Jones patch instead. It's a great baseball cap. Tyler Ford is a quicksand. The humor of having to save Indy with a snake is great. Harrison Ford sells it full. Yes, he does. It's a sinkhole, Tyler, not a quicksand. And Indiana Jones explains it. So you're going to have to rewatch that scene again. And I will give you a quiz. Okay? How's that sound? Bing! Thank you. I just put a laugh track in. I haven't done I haven't done sound effects in a long time. That's a loud one. Let's put that down. Okay. Back to number 4s. Anybody else have a number 4 they would like to list? I don't want to miss anybody. Naturally, if you think of one later or you join us later, I'm happy to share those with you. Okay. Let's go to number 3. Number 3, we've got the motorcycle sequence. It's been mentioned by Mary and Minta, but I love that sequence. It might be my favorite action sequence in the entire film, but it's just great. It shows Indy still being able to be Indy. As I mentioned, the John Williams score of this part is great. I love when he gets pulled into the car, off the bike, and then fights his way out of the car and back onto the bike. It's beautifully choreographed. It's a really great sequence. Minta's 3, Marion dropping the bomb on Indy. That Mutt's son is followed by, why did you make him stay in school? I love that part too. It's really great. Really, really funny and clever. Mary's 3 is Mom and Dad arguing in the truck, then Indy telling Marion none of them were you, honey. It's so good. I love that part. By the way, did you catch, if you listened to Coffee with Kenobi last week, did you catch I put in some of the different dialogue from the film itself? I want to do that more. I think that's fun. So I'm asking you to help keep me accountable because I think it spices up the intros a little bit. 3 for Brian, the return of Marion. It's great. I can't get enough Karen Allen in the Indiana Jones film. So it was great to see her again. It was awesome. And that very much ties into my number 4. So another great thing about Crystal Skull, I think, is it had been a long time, right? This movie came out, was it 2008? Does that sound right? And then the Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade was 1980, was it 87? Is that right? 88? 89? When was it? Why can I not think of it? Help me out. Okay, let's see. Raiders was 81. Temple of Doom, 84. I think it's 89. 89 is my final answer. Please tell me if I'm wrong, but 89 is my final answer. Tyler's 3. Kate Blanchett. She's so much fun to watch as Spalko, one of my favorite indie villains. Mary says 89. Good. Okay. I agree. I think that's right. So Mary is my official lifeline for that, and we got that right. Yeah, Kate Blanchett is great in that. Yes, I was right. 1981, 84, and 89. And then 2008, and then 2023. So they take so much time between these things, but they're always just, it's Indiana Jones. So what else can you say? They're the best. All right, let's go to number 2. By the way, you just got a little evidence of how my brain works jumping around. That's sort of that's the constant thing going on here. So I put school versus school, all caps, exclamation point. So when Mutt first tells Indy about dropping out of school and the reasons why, Indy's really laid back. He says, if that's, you need to follow what you love. Don't let anybody tell you differently. He's super cool, grown up uncle teacher guy. But as soon as he finds out that Mutt is his son, he loses it. His first reaction is, why didn't you stay in school? I laugh out loud, literally laugh out loud every single time. It's incredibly funny. It's incredibly realistic because the approach we have, and I mentioned this on the show last week, the approach we have versus other kids versus our own. Sometimes it's harder to be as objective when it's your own kids. I just found it to be a really realistic portrayal of parenthood, and I thought it was just great. So that's why I put it as my number 2. Brian's 2. Several quotes. If you want to be a good archaeologist, you got to get out of the library. Not if that's what you love doing. Don't let anybody tell you differently. And I've got a bad feeling about this, which is a great Star Wars line. When I showed that to Mason, he looked at me and smiled because it was a great little fun moment. Minta's 2. Marianne's return. You can still see the spark between them, even if it was a little bit tense. And it's always tense with those two. You're right. Mary's 2 is John Hurt. Every scene is fantastic. When he wakes up from his fog, he was so good. Yeah, John Hurt is tremendous. He's a great cinematic treasure. Tyler's number 2 is Marion. It's already been said, but I was so happy to see her back. Her and Indy are one of the greatest movie couples. I like that, and I don't disagree. Number 2 for Ben is Kate Blanchett. She just plays such a great and compelling villain. Got her ready to play Hela. Yeah, it was fun to explain to Mason, see if he remembered, and he's like, oh yeah, from Thor Ragnarok, exactly. Kate Blanchett is such a good actor. Jeff McGee argued this week in Coffee with Kenobi that she might be one of the great living actors of our time. And I don't think I could disagree with that. She's great in serious roles, in franchise and mythological stuff, comedy. She's just terrific. And she's great as Ivana Spalko in Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Let's go to number 1. My favorite moment. Mary's mentioned already. It's the part when they're in the truck and they're arguing, Marion and Indy, and he's finding out that she was married, and she says, well, there must have been other women. He's like, yeah, there were a few, but they all had the same problem. And Marion says, what's that? And he says, they weren't you, or none of them were you, honey. And then he climbs out of that truck, and she gets this big, like, butterfly smile, and I get teary-eyed every single time. It's just, I knew beyond a shadow of doubt that was going to be my number 1. I love that sequence so much. Number 1 for Minta. There's this classic alien spaceship scene emerging from the temple, giving it the 1950s feel. Then there's a wedding finally between Mary and Indy. They were meant to be since the beginning. You know what? That would be an honorable mention for me. I like that too. Mary's number 1 is Karen Allen. Just as Minta said, the chemistry between the two is fantastic. It's the best. Tyler's number 1 is The Warehouse. One of the most thrilling action scenes in all the movies. Shows that even at 65, Indy / Harrison was a force to be reckoned with. That's exactly right. Absolutely tremendous. Brian's number 1, the reveal that Mutt is Indy's son in the ensuing family time argument in the truck. It's brilliant. It's brilliantly performed and executed and blocked. It's great. It's a great cinematic moment. Ben's one of the aliens at the end. I love the mixture of sci-fi and practical. I know a lot of people panned it, but all these years later is still in my head. I think it was great. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say anything about Dial of Destiny. I'll save it. But I think these films take risks with reality. And I think that's okay, right? We don't watch these movies because they're realistic, but they present realism in the context of what we have, and that is the definition of verisimilitude, my favorite word, my favorite English teacher word, verisimilitude, where you can take semblance of fiction and make it believable in the context of itself. Now, a semblance of truth, veras and similitude. It's Latin, right? Okay. Minta's honorable mention, Ravencroft's return and his temporary memory loss, which were hilarious at times, but he managed to help the gang out and soon was himself again. Interesting. Do you mean Oxley? Is that what you're talking about, Minta? Yeah, I think originally they did want it was going to be either Marion's dad, Abner Ravenwood, and then I think they also wanted to be Sean Connery. But I don't know. I can't remember. Did he not like the script, or he didn't? He was already doing the film with all the literary characters. Gosh, what was that called? Where he was, it had like Dracula. It had Mina in it from the Dracula novel. It had, gosh, what is that called? You know what I'm talking about? It's like the Invisible Man is in it. Captain Nemo. Oh, Minta, no problem. I knew you knew what you were talking about. What is that movie that Sean Connery was in with Tom Sawyer's in it, and he plays Alan Quatermain. Gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know you know what I'm thinking about, but I think that was the movie that Sean Connery did instead of this movie, and I'm probably misremembering some of my facts for that. But that's why like Aristotle, I know what I don't know. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Yes, thank you. I knew somebody would get it. Yeah, and I like that movie. That movie was pretty fun. But I believe that was what he chose instead of this one. But it all worked out. It all worked out just fine. So, thank you, everybody. I love Crystal Skull. I think it's fun. I think we should eventually rank all these. I think that's going to be difficult to do. Brian says, honorable mention, Ox using the skull to keep the giant ants away from himself. That was cool. That was a cool little moment, too. So next week, we're going to finally do it. There are two reasons why we didn't do Dial of Destiny this week, because I know the movie just came out. One was because I'm not sure if everybody has seen it yet, and I want to give everybody time to do it and remain spoiler-free if possible. And then we were a little bit behind because I did the Star Cruiser trip, which totally worth it. But I'm sure this will get us on track. It'll give you time to watch it a couple more times if you want to. Ben says, this became pop culture trivia night and I failed. No. You never failed, buddy. We're glad to have you. Minta's fired up to talk about Dial of Destiny next week, and Tyler is too. He says, I can't wait to talk about Dial of Destiny. Gonna go see it for a second time on Wednesday. I need to go see it again, too. I'm going to make that a priority. All right, well, I think it's time to jump into Ask Dan Z. All right, so Ask Dan Z. So you asked me anything you want about Star Wars. I've got a lot of great questions this week, actually, about the Coffee with Kenobi Mouse fan travel trip. People really want to know what the dates are and where we're going. You know what? I want to know that too. But it's impossible. It's literally impossible. I'm not keeping any secrets. We're not trying to hide anything from you. But we don't know because Disney has not shared and scheduled officially where all the cruise lines are going in the summer 2025 because, we're 2 years away from that. And again, that's one of the reasons why we picked this trip on the Disney Wish, which does have a Star Wars component. As you see a picture on the right of the Hyperspace Lounge. Cannot wait to try that. I've never been on a Disney Wish. And what better way to first experience it than with all of our Coffee with Kenobi friends and family. Minta wants to know, am I going to go to the Boston Fan Expo next month? Hayden Christensen is supposed to be there along with a few other Star Wars celebrities. No, Minta, I will not be able to make it to Boston next month, unfortunately. But if you do, you got to post pictures in the cafe. I would love to see them. What other fun family vacations do you have planned this summer? Well, yesterday I went to the Cubs game with my family, and we had a blast. But since we went to New Orleans and Tennessee and Alabama and Walt Disney World, I think we're pretty well done for the summer. What about you guys? Tyler says, I mentioned this to my wife and she's totally for going on it with you guys. That's great. That is great. I've had a couple of people say they want to do the cruise with us in 2 years. And Tyler, that would be so cool, dude. Brian went some files at the Cubs game last night. I had a friend that went and left in the 8th. He had to go back home to get back for work. He missed to come back in the 9th. I was at the game. And I left at the end of the 7th inning because it was a 5-hour rain delay. And it was just a really long day. And it looked like they were not going to win. And I was trying to beat out the traffic because we had 2 youngsters with us. And I thought that would just make it easier for them. And then I checked my phone and it's tied in the bottom of the 9th going to extra innings. Wow. Hello. Now, they didn't end up winning, but it was a really fun experience. Since Indy is out, are there any other big movies you're excited for this summer? I'm really excited for the Mission Impossible film. I love those movies, and congratulations to my good friend Drew Taylor for now having the official Mission Impossible podcast, the Light the Fuse podcast. Congratulations to him for that. That is great. That deserves some applause for sure. Yeah, awesome stuff. I was excited for Indy, of course. I was very excited for Guardians. I was excited for the new Into the Spider-Verse. But the only one I can think of right now that I'm excited to see is Mission Impossible. What about you, Tyler? I mean, it's hard to have anything overshadow Indy for sure. Any thoughts on Secret Invasion yet? So my thoughts are I've actually not seen the second episode yet. I've seen the first one. And I haven't seen the second one yet, but I've been told the second one is better. So I'm excited about it. Interested to see what you all think too. Mira, are you thinking about doing the Oppenheimer and Barbie doubleheader people are talking about? Really? That's the doubleheader? No, I'm not. I think that would be so much. I do want to see Oppenheimer. I don't know if I'm going to go to theaters for that though. Barbie, I think we probably will because my wife, of course, is a big fan of Barbie, and it does look fun and very clever and very well done. So I definitely think we will check that out. Great questions, everybody. Ben says the second one is intense. Okay, cool. I can't wait. I'll have to tell Mason. Maybe we'll get a chance to watch it later tonight. Well, thank you, everybody, so much for joining me on CWK Live. Tyler says, Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is being my number one most anticipated. Going to travel to Nebraska and see with my brother and niece. That's cool. That sounds like the way to go. Speaking of the way to go, let's see. I think it's important to tell you that now that Mason's, where are we at here? Now that Mason's baseball is done, we are going to return to the schedule. And we're going to have the Tuesday night show. Sorry, I'm trying to get my picture back, and I just don't know where I went. Where did I go? Let's see. Let me move this away here. Oh, well, I'm just going to go to a different screen. Sorry about that, everybody. So, yes, next week we're back to Tuesdays. The only reason we switched it to Mondays was because Mason had baseball. Baseball is done. So, we're back to Tuesday nights, and that was the night that works the best for so many of you. So we're back to Tuesday nights. That starts next week, Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Brian, a great way to start the week. Always a pleasure. Have a great 4th. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. Happy 4th of July to you and to all of you. I hope you all have a very fun, safe, happy, and healthy holiday with your family and friends. Have lots of cheeseburgers, go swimming, see some fireworks, play some catch. Just have a great time. Mary, have a fantastic holiday and week. Great to see you. Meantime, may the force be with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Terry says, thanks for your favorites, everyone. I'll keep an eye out for them. Terry, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you so much. Remember that you are such an important part of this community. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm thankful for what you allow me to do here with the show on Coffee with Kenobi. If you want to find more ways to support me, there's always those stars you can do when you're watching Facebook. And another huge way to support me is, of course, using MEI and Mouse Fan Travel for all of your travel needs, not just for Disney World or Disneyland or the cruises or the Star Cruiser, but any vacation you take. It doesn't have to be Disney related. They're so good and so helpful. And when you use Mouse Fan Travel, you can use the link here, coffeewithkenobi.com/Mouse Fan Travel, or when you book a trip, be sure to click that Coffee with Kenobi was the person who referred you. It's a terrific way to support me, and so is becoming a member of the CWK Alliance. In fact, that might be the best absolute way to support me. That's how you get access to CWK Pro, an exclusive weekly audio and video podcast. This week we did part 2 of our top 5 favorite road trip songs, which was inspired by our trip to the Halcyon. So again, that's on Coffee with Kenobi's Patreon page. CWK, coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. You become a member of the CWK Alliance itself. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great 4th of July. Ben says, happy 4th. Be safe blowing stuff up. Yes, please do. See everybody. Thanks so much. May the stars light your way. And remember, this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.